Hello, this is Alex from Lincoln Park Library, and today's How To Tuesday is how to create magazine art. So materials that you will need include several magazines. So they're preferably ones like National Geographic, could be the adult, could be the kids, Vogue, Smithsonian, any other kind of colorful publications that you can use that have a lot of colorful images. I found that a lot of nature and fashion magazines have a lot of awesome colors and textures of photos that you can use for magazine art. You'll also need Mod Podge. I use the glossy kind just because it gives it a really nice glossy sheen once it dries. You can also though use wet Elmer's glue if you have that at home. You will need a paintbrush for that, scissors of course to cut up your magazines, as well as cardstock, canvas, piece of cardboard, anything like that that you can use as a sturdier backdrop for your image. So step one, you need to plan what you want to create. So what I did, I created a tree. I cut out pieces of blue for the sky, green for the foliage for the tree, and then brown for the trunk and the branches, which you will see in the next slides. What you want to do is try to create dimension by incorporating different shades, hues, textures, things like that. If you look over at my little green pile over here, I ended up needing a lot more than this, but there are a lot of different colors, textures. Some of them, this one is actually of grass. I think some of them that might have been like an apple. Any kind of different images that could help create, like I said, this kind of cool, interesting dimension so that it doesn't look so uniform once it's all together. So the more varied it is, the better it ends up looking. So some other options as well, if you don't want to copy the tree that I do in this example, you can also make an outline of something. I typically use cardstock, so it could be like a bird, a flower, or like some sort of animal. It could be a heart. And if you have that outline, and it's like a sturdier outline, like I said, like with cardstock, you can just glue the magazine pieces on that and then trim them after, which is super easy. So for step 2, if you're going to do any sort of background, you definitely want to create that first. So for mine, I ended up doing a sky background for my tree. So I cut out all these different types of blue magazine pieces, as you can see here. So all different, shades, colors, textures, things like that. So I kind of did this section by section. So it was maybe 4 inches by 4 inch sections starting on the bottom. I placed the Mod Podge down first, and then I added the magazine pieces. And when I was done with that small section, I then added the Mod Podge on top just to seal it all together and create that glossy sheen, which you can kind of see at the top from where the light hits it. So you want to do your background first if you're going to do a background. Let it dry completely before you move to the next layer. So for this next step, you're either going to cover the outline of the piece that you're using. So if you cut out, a bird, or if you cut out a tree or a heart or whatever it is, you're going to cover that outline completely with whatever magazine pieces that you're using. For my tree example, I did not need an outline. I just created, a circle of green pieces, and then I covered them similar to the last step, covered them after with Mod Podge so that they would be shiny and it would be all sealed together. So this is also very similar to the last step. Again, you'll let that layer dry before moving on because I'm going to be adding branches and a tree trunk to this. So I needed that green to be completely dry before moving on to the next step. So for step 4, this is when I created my trunk and my branches. So I used brown pieces of paper for this section, and you can see on the bottom for the tree trunk, I used thicker, kind of bigger square pieces. And then as I got up to the branches, I ended up cutting them into rectangles and triangles, just so I could get, different sizes. It could look like, how branches gradually become thinner. I played off that and I cut my pieces as needed. So again, you do your layer of Mod Podge on the bottom, you place your magazine pieces on top of that so you get your shape, and then afterward you cover the entire thing with a layer of Mod Podge. So for step 5 for this project, once it's dry, the finished product is glossy, it's sealed, and then it's also water resistant if you use Mod Podge, which is another reason why I love to use it. But this is the finished product if you wanted to make a tree. So you can see here I kind of strategically placed like a lot of these lighter pieces. They're kind of like a little bit even more yellow, but I think that those lighter pieces, and you can see that there's a lot of texture too as well in the tree. I kind of did that purposefully, especially in the brown too. In comparison to the sky, I think is more uniform in terms of texture. Like I think there's a lot less textures here besides like clouds, but I think adding the texture all to the tree really made it pop even more. So I suggest, playing around with those different textured pieces, with the different colors, things like that. You can throw in like a couple yellow pieces here in the tree, or maybe you want to make a tree that is fall themed and you can add, reds and oranges, maybe even have some that are falling down onto the ground. You could add even like grass down here or flowers. That's totally up to you. This is just kind of the basis for the tree that I completed. And then I wanted to show you as well some other examples of what other people have done on the internet. So what I meant by creating an outline, you can see down here this heart outline was created, and then someone cut up strips of magazine. They glued them all down. They used Elmer's glue for the heart. And then afterward it looks like this, but once you flip it the other way, you can cut off all of the excess magazine pieces and you can have something like this. So that heart was created, it looks like it's cardboard or something like that. So you can create that and then put it on something if you want to put it on a canvas or put it on a card or within a picture frame, something like that. So you can see here, it looks like this one was done on cardboard. So you can either like trace something or have it as like a 3D image and create it on something else and then, glue it onto a background. And then some people kind of similar to what I did, you can see here, this is all square pieces for the most part for this tiger. And then here, this person used, it looks more like strips. I really like this one because I think you can tell what it is, but I think it has a more abstract, kind of less precise imagery. Like it seems, I don't want to say messier, but it just seems more abstract, and I think it looks really interesting and really beautiful. So this is just an example of like, it doesn't have to be perfect little squares, over the entire canvas. It doesn't have to be that. You can, cut whatever shapes you want and add them all together. As long as you have the colors and the textures that you want, you can create something beautiful like this that's really different and not as structured as these tiny little squares. So you have a lot of options for this. There's a lot of different things that you can do. If none of these look like something that you want to do, you can also look online. I just type in magazine piece art, and there's a whole bunch of different examples that people have done that are all really different and cool and interesting. And it's all about using your creativity and, cutting out your pieces based on color or texture and just kind of planning what you want to do and see how it goes. Planning what you want to do and seeing how it goes, pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I would love to see your magazine art if you create it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this craft as much as I did. Thanks so much. Have a great day.